We begin with Myanmar, which is still in turmoil as protests continue against the military takeover. Anti-junta leaders have just announced the formation of a national unity government with the aim of taking back control. A group of ousted lawmakers who support detained leaders says its national unity government consists of 14 cabinet members. These include President Win Min and State Councilor Aung San Suu Kyi. It also appointed at least 6 members of ethnic minority groups which have been leading anti-coup protests. The unity government gave the group's previously appointed special envoy to the UN its international cooperation portfolio, a position he said he'll be proud to hold.
Our main target is to end this military dictatorship once for all. To do that, we will be working very, very closely with the international community and also all the stakeholders in the country and outside of the country.
There's also news from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. A source within the Indonesian government says ASEAN is set to hold an urgent meeting about Myanmar next week. It comes about a month after Indonesia's president called on members to discuss the crisis. This year's ASEAN chair, Brunei, is yet to formally decide on the date, but work is underway to meet in Jakarta 1 week from Saturday. The United Nations Security Council released comments at the beginning of this month saying it supports ASEAN's efforts. Turning to Washington, where Japanese Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide is set to meet U.S. President Joe Biden. A senior U.S. official says the leaders are expected to discuss peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait and mention the issue in a formal statement. It would be the first time leaders from the two countries touched on Taiwan in a joint statement in over 50 years. Suga arrived at Joint Base Andrews on Thursday night local time. He's set to become the first foreign leader to meet President Biden face-to-face. The U.S. official said the countries have put out a series of statements on what was described as cross-strait circumstances on Taiwan and the need to maintain peace and stability. The official also emphasized the goal is not to raise tensions or provoke Beijing. Economic issues may also be on the agenda at the summit. The U.S. official said Japan and the U.S. will invest $2 billion in 5G telecommunications and other technologies to counter China. The two leaders are also likely to discuss national security, climate change, and human rights when they meet on Friday. Japan's government has designated 4 more prefectures as areas where stricter anti-coronavirus measures should be taken without announcing an official state of emergency. The move comes as infections continue to spread, with particular concerns surrounding variants.
In order to prevent local waves of infection from becoming a large wave on a national scale, we will continue to flexibly and intensively take stringent measures in limited areas to contain the spread of infection.
3 of Tokyo's neighbors, Saitama, Chiba, and Kanagawa, as well as Aichi in central Japan, were newly designated. The stricter measures are already in place for Tokyo, Osaka, and 4 other prefectures. The additional designation will come into effect on Tuesday and remain in place until May 11th. Governors will be able to order bars and restaurants to close by 8 p.m. in targeted areas and impose fines for non-compliance. The government is also urging people to refrain from non-essential travel across prefectural borders ahead of a week-long holiday starting in late April. The number of new infections has been on the rise since the last state of emergency was lifted in March. Tokyo on Friday reported 667 new cases, while Osaka hit a new record 1,209. Medical experts are concerned about more infectious variants. They predict that variants will almost completely replace the original strain in major urban areas around Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya in May. The spike in new cases is putting a strain on the healthcare system. As of Thursday, the number of patients with serious COVID-19 symptoms in Osaka was higher than the number of hospital beds available for such cases. Japanese cabinet ministers met Friday to discuss plans for how the operator of the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant will release a buildup of treated water into the ocean safely and transparently. They heard from Fukushima's governor and the plant's operator. It's the first time relevant ministers have met since the plan was decided upon. They said they want to prevent any reputational damage to local industries, especially fisheries. They confirmed they'll work closely on the issue and address potential challenges quickly. The ministers say they're looking for the best method to discharge water, prioritizing safety and transparency. They set up a working group which will listen to industry and municipal representatives and create an action plan by the end of the year. The plan will cover the 2 years leading up to the initial release of water and beyond. The wastewater is treated to remove most radioactive materials, but still contains radioactive tritium. Before the water is discharged, it'll be diluted, so the concentration of tritium is well below national standards. It'll be about 1/7 of the level the World Health Organization suggests for drinking water. The ministers pledged to ensure accurate information is disseminated, avoiding potentially damaging misunderstandings.
I'm concerned that efforts made by the people of Fukushima Prefecture to rebuild their lives over the past 10 years could become worthless. I strongly urge the government to take the lead and relevant ministries and agencies to work together to take all possible measures.
The government must take thorough measures to respond to your request. We will secure necessary budgets in the future without any hesitation and take concrete measures.
The plant's operator is the Tokyo Electric Power Company. Its president promised to provide accurate information.
In reference to compensation, we will listen to various opinions so we can create a situation in which people would feel safe if there were any reputational damage after the water is discharged.
Neighboring countries are continuing to criticize the plan. China's foreign ministry says it summoned the Japanese ambassador on Thursday to convey its strong dissatisfaction and firm opposition. The ministry demanded that Japan retract the decision and allow inspections by an international engineering team that includes Chinese experts. A spokesperson for Russia's foreign ministry said on Thursday that her country is waiting for a more detailed explanation of all aspects of the plan. Fire departments across Japan are scrambling to assess the safety of carbon dioxide-based fire extinguishing systems at thousands of buildings and apartments following a fatal incident in the capital. The accident occurred on Thursday in an underground parking lot at a condominium in central Tokyo as 6 workers were replacing ceiling panels. For an as-yet unknown reason, the fire extinguisher activated and released huge quantities of carbon dioxide. One worker who was near a ladder managed to escape, but the other 5 failed to get out. 4 of them later died, while the other is in critical condition. Similar systems are installed at thousands of buildings around the country. The fire agency is advising that workers close the main valve on the system before starting maintenance. It says that should prevent the extinguishing agent being released accidentally. Family members of a Sri Lankan woman who died last month while in custody at a Japanese immigration detention facility have asked for a police investigation into her death. The woman was in her 30s. She arrived in Japan in 2017 and was detained last year after she overstayed her visa. Japanese authorities have held foreigners without resident status for long periods. The Immigration Services Agency released a report last Friday that says the woman was diagnosed as possibly suffering from reflux esophagitis and mental illness from January. It said she received medication. The woman's mother held an online news conference on Friday from Sri Lanka. She said her daughter went to Japan to teach English because she was interested in Japanese culture.
My daughter was a kind person who devoted herself to other people. The sorrow of losing her will never go away.
The mother asked for a police investigation to establish facts about her daughter's death. She said she has not been shown any photos or videos to clarify what happened. It's time now for a check on world weather. This year's second named storm of the typhoon season is creeping towards the Philippines as it develops. For more details, we turn to our meteorologist, Sayaka Mori.
A typhoon is still swirling near Palau, bringing days of heavy rain. Parts of the area saw 176 millimeters of rain in 24 hours. On and off heavy showers already affecting Mindanao. This system will likely intensify. It could become a very strong typhoon status. It's very unusual to see such a powerful storm in April. The system will likely stay over the waters, but it's going to get very close to the Philippines, so parts of Luzon and also the Visayas could see heavy rainfall and high waves into the weekend and into early next week. And eventually, it could get very close to the southern islands of Japan, including Ogasawara, later this month. It's going to be a stormy weekend for many places of Japan. We are looking at a couple of storms approaching the country at this moment. This system will likely mainly pound the Pacific coast, including Tokyo. Gusts could be about 126 kilometers per hour, especially in the northern places due to another low pressure system. And we will see a cold air mass aloft, so that could lead to heavy snowfall in the mountainous locations. And also it could lead to unstable weather conditions. Be careful of tornadoes and hail too. Yellow sand covered parts of eastern Asia on Thursday, and it's continuously heading towards the east. It will likely affect western Japan by Saturday, so the sand could be mixed in the rain during the weekend in the west. Temperatures will be as follows. 22 is the forecast on Sunday in Tokyo. Toyama 14 degrees on Sunday. Before we go, I want to show you some video coming out of Toyama. It's April, but the Tateyama-Kurobe Alpine Route still has a huge wall of snow lining the road. This year, the wall reached a height of 14 meters after snowplows were used to clean the route. Typically, 1 million people would come to see the site annually. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the opening of the entire line. That's it for me. Have a nice day.
The drug company Moderna announced U.S. and Canadian testing of its COVID-19 vaccine for children from 6 months to 12 years of age. Japan's Prime Minister meets with the U.S. Secretaries of State and Defense in Tokyo to discuss issues including China's territorial moves. North Korean media say that a top official warns against U.S.-South Korean military exercises if the two countries want peace. And European Union ministers met Monday in Brussels to debate ways to persuade northern African countries to take back migrants denied entry to the EU.
Russia is expelling 10 U.S. diplomats and blacklisting 8 top American officials. It's in response to sanctions imposed by Washington on Thursday. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Moscow was also tightening restrictions on U.S. diplomats traveling within Russia. China said it's willing to cooperate with some more European countries over the challenges of climate change. President Xi Jinping made the pledge during a video summit with the leaders of Germany and France. Newly released body camera footage appears to show a 13-year-old boy was not armed in the second in which he was shot dead by Chicago police. The footage shows Adam Toledo apparently dropping a gun just before he was shot. And there are severe shortages of beds and oxygen in parts of India as the country reports another record number of daily coronavirus infections. More than 200,000 cases were recently reported.